Salve, salve, galerinha! Fala, trazendo mais vídeo pro canal. Galerinha, hoje nós vamos dar continuidade aqui nossas aventuras no Genshin Impact. E no vídeo de hoje nós vamos estar fazendo aqui a nova missão, né, do evento. Aqui da Lenda dos Kaisers, né, o terceiro ato, que foi liberado agora pra gente. Uma nova pintura escarlate, né? Então eu vou aqui na parte das nossas missões e mandar... acho que já tá... a gente tem que botar às 7 às 9 horas da manhã. Então, eu já queria pedir pro pessoal deixar aquele like, se inscrever no canal. Caso você não seja inscrito, vídeo todos os dias, ative aí o sininho das notificações para você receber as notificações dos vídeos. E vamos prosseguir aqui, né, na nossa missão. Vamos ver o que é que vai chegar hoje aqui, né? Navio.
Greetings, traveler in Paimon. I heard there would be guides for the Iridori Festival, but I didn't expect it would...
We didn't expect to see you either! Returning as a guest for the Iridori Festival, no doubt.
I was a little surprised myself when I received the invitation. But after wandering the outside world for so long, it's good to have an opportunity to return to my homeland and pay respects to my old friends.
Kazuha, when we saw you in the distance just now, you seemed to be looking for something.
Ah, yes. You see, when I came off the boat with everyone just now, I suddenly heard light. I could tell they were not footsteps of a regular passenger. But by the time I turned around, the person had already... Even though I didn't manage to catch a glimpse of them.
Oh, does the paper happen to have a poem written on it?
Huh. Fascinating. It's almost hard to believe such things could happen. Sure, here it is.
Last time, Aoi no Okina's poem ended with a reference to Akihito. Story this time basically says that Akihito got his name from his love of red seals. However, if Paimon were to rate today's story, it sounds pretty unfortunate.
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this story. I too was once wanted as a criminal by the shogunate. So I'm not all that different.
But according to the story, Akihito was exiled by the shogun because of his wrongdoings. Huh? Traveler, what are you thinking about?
Ah, by the way, you mentioned that your friend has been in Liyue and Inazuma. There is a saying, that which has been stamped has also been signed. While sailing at sea, I sometimes carve things to pass the time. If you wish to create a stamp for his seal...
Wow, that's an idea!
Ok. É como se fosse uma rúbrica, né, no caso. O selo. Teleportar, né?
Albedo, we
Interesting. A story of the 5 Kasen appears again, and with a timely solution. A stamped seal. Indeed, it is an efficient solution. If we use a stamp, then Xingqiu won't have to struggle with his handwriting anymore. Since Xingqiu's signature has been previously revealed to the readers, it would seem... But I have another idea. Using a seal is a part of it, of course.
Vamos seguir pro restaurante. Ixi, tá longe. Ela tá na parte de cima? Ah.
Yes, that's it, Genyu. Your writing has greatly improved today, which means yesterday's intensive training was effective.
My apologies, but I simply can't do it anymore. My hands are so sore that I can't even move them anymore. I should have known better than to read not-
You just had a 10-minute break. Come on, you can do this.
When it comes to pushing a deadline, there's no one more brutal than Mr. Hirayama.
No wonder Lady Yai would always send the editorial director to-
Whoa, this is getting scary. It hasn't even been that long, and she chose.
Mr. Hirayama, we found a solution that might... In both Liyue and Inazuma, seals are widely used as the equivalents of a signature. If we use a stamp to leave the author's seal on... Of course, a seal on its own is not enough. So, first, we'll use a personalized seal. We can simply carve one using Chenyu's signature. In addition, I'll also design a simple but elegant pattern that's easy for Chenyu to write. That way, he will only need to draw a simple pattern on each book.
All right, I think that would work. Not only does it still involve the author's own
So, what you mean to-
Mr. Hirayama, it suddenly occurred to me that the reason we gave up on live book signings previously was because it would take too long for the author. But if we adopted Calx's proposed method, we might have enough time to do signatures at the live event. And if all the authors signed their books in the same fashion, then Genyu's signature wouldn't look out of place.
If you think it's feasible, I would certainly be happy to design signatures for the...
Yes, and you...
In that case, I shall contact the other two authors participating in the...
It is a great honor to use a signature designed by Calx.
My pen name is quite complicated and isn't suitable for signing events. However, if...
Great! Looks like everyone's.
I'm sorry to have kept you busy for so long, Genyu. Please, take the next few days to have a good rest. We'll have... The books that Genyu already signed can be used as special prizes in future events held by the Eye Public.
We did it.
Thanks to everyone's efforts, Onodera and I are finally free.
That's right! You're finally free, Shincho! We still have some time to burn.
E chegou o 20.
Traveler, there you are.
Oh, it's Ayaka!
I was just going to the festival venue to prepare the Ikebana lesson when I found a strange... This bar just happened to be close by at the time. He informed me that you've also found similar... But the paper she found isn't... Here's the paper.
Huh. All the poems we found before were roughly the same length. But this one is only...
And even though there are only 2 short sentences, neither of them are next to the title or The position of the writing seems to indicate that there is other
If we take the poem literally, it reads, "Dip this paper in water." Speaking of which, I have an ancient text at home, specializing in ancient and exotic stories.
So, shall we give it a whirl?
Wow, look! It's really... Let Paimon see what it says. Story says that after the plagiarized words in the poem became blurry.
You see, Paimon, in the past, when printing was not yet well developed, handwritten text could easily become... To ensure the text lasted longer, they'd either write using a special ink or coat the paper's surface with a... Such special inks are time-consuming and laborious to produce. However, since Akihito's poetry collection was an important gift to be presented to the shogun, but as for the plagiarized poems, not only would they lack Akihito's seal, but the words would also react differently when exposed to liquid.
Which means Akihito didn't plagiarize his work.
Yes, it appears that this is the truth at Sumizome's story. Although the story is saddening, I've decided on the subjects. Kazuha, Ayaka, would you be willing to be...
I would be delighted.
Yes.
There you go. The next...
Yes. And now that all 4 stories have all been collected...
Long ago, Inazuma had 5 legendary poets. People bestowed upon them the title of the 5 Kasen.
One year, the poet Suiko made his way to Tenshukaku and presented the Kasen's work for the shogun's perusal. But a page from the works of Aoi no Okina had been torn out, and Suiko was questioned regarding the matter. Suiko pleaded guilty. He admitted to drinking at the tavern the night before, and vaguely recalled a mysterious figure approaching while he was intoxicated.
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akihito.
Akihito had once belonged to the 5 Kasen. Each poem he composed, he marked with a scarlet red seal, hence the Aka in his name. Such a distinguished writer was he, and yet one of the poems he had submitted the previous year was found to be plagiarized. Akihito was exiled for his crimes, and only 4 of the 5 Kasen remained.
Sumizome went over Akihito's poems and noticed that the plagiarized poem lacked his seal. She immersed his poetry in a stream nearby, and only on the plagiarized poem did the ink run. Aoi no Okina passed by and witnessed Sumizome's doing, which he then recorded in a poem. Thus transpired the events of Suiko's poetry submission, and this is where the story comes to an end.
Yeah. Ever since we completed the story of one of the 5 Kasen is called Kuranu. It's just that... How could the story of the 5...
Oh!
Huh? Not noticed what?
What he means is that the story of Kuronushi was already...
Huh?
That's right. The key lies in the poem that Aoi no Okina wrote after seeing Sumizome. An average person could never understand the scene of a young girl washing Akihito's poetry collection in a stream. Even Aoi no Okina couldn't figure out the meaning behind Sumizome's actions. He was however, for the perpetrator he was worried that if this poem was seen by the Shogun, then the Shogun could... So in desperation,
Which means... The one who threatened Aoi no Okina is the same person that framed Akihito! What?
That's right. Though there are only 4 poems, they still managed to tell the complete... Since the Shogun mentioned in the poems is certainly not the one of the 5 Kasen, the only...
Oh!
However, the story of the 5 Kasen has more or less reflected everything that's been... Which begs the question... Is there...
A Kuronushi?
Speaking of which, I wonder if our dear Kazuha...
Oh, right! Kazuha! He's...
Shogun?
Hey, Kazuha! Are you okay?
Apologies for making a wild assumption.
Yes. A few things did come to mind, actually. I don't mind sharing the stories, but I'd prefer...
Hey! We're all friends here,
Kaidehara, please forgive my assumption, but perhaps you were thinking of the Raiden Gokuden?
The Raiden Gokuden?
It appears that Miss Kamisato and I were thinking of this, but it also has much to do with the Yashiro Commission. It would be improper to speak of it here without...
It's fine. Those of us here are all However, This matter is somewhat complicated and may be difficult to explain. As you all know, the Yashiro Commission's primary purpose is managing ceremonial and cultural affairs. The Raiden Gokuden were once the top 5 schools of the forging art in Inazuma. Although these families were swordsmiths by craft, unfortunately, of the 5, only the Aminoma art still maintains its artisan lineage. The descendants of the Ishin art are none other than the Kaidehara family.
Whoa! We knew Kazuha came from a noble family, but we had no idea about his connection to the Yashiro.
Yes, but that's all part of the past now. The Ishin art was lost with my great-grandfather's generation. My grandfather was dissatisfied with my great-grandfather's lack of effort. When he was young, my grandfather traveled all over Tevat to find a way to and in my generation, our last remaining
I heard my elder brother mention that the decline of the Raiden Gokuden happened very rapidly. In the span of a few decades, 3 later, there was speculation that all of these misfortunes stemmed from some background machinations. However, since not every family of the Raiden Gokuden came to ruin, such explanations were treated as nothing.
Indeed. I've also believed such. However, I know that a major incident happened to my great-grandfather when he was young. Not only did it affect the Kaedehara clan, but it nearly jeopardized. After reading the story of the 5 Kasen, I can't help but feel like it's pointing me toward the.
What exactly happened to your great-grand?
I still can't say. I will tell you everything I know then.
Ok, galerinha, concluímos aí a missão. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Liberou aqui, né, mais 2 partes do evento aí. A gente vai dar uma parada por aqui, o vídeo tá ficando grande. No próximo vídeo a gente vai estar tentando fazer as missões ali que foram liberadas. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Deixa aquele like, se inscreva no canal. Se você não for inscrito, vídeo todos os dias. Ative aí o sininho das notificações para você receber a notificação dos vídeos. Queria agradecer o pessoal que tá se inscrevendo no canal. O pessoal tá deixando feedback nos comentários. O pessoal tá compartilhando aí os vídeos nas redes sociais. E a gente se vê no próximo vídeo. Valeu, falou e fui!